The Spurs draft situation just keeps getting even crazier. With the Spurs locked into the number 2 pick, a new report indicates that Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers have been aggressively trying to move up to number 2 to try and draft Dylan Harper, going as far as offering a huge package to San Antonio to move up just one spot. We have to dive into this recent report, what this package is, and whether the Spurs should take it, because it is a lot. But look, we got to dive into Harper and that, but not just that. I have a great note on Harrison Barnes, one of the more underrated Spurs, I think, or less talked about this year, and just something great about him. So a bunch of great stuff coming up in this episode of Spurs Digest. But hey, I saw some comments last time. For those of you that are part of the 70 or part of the 29% that are subscribed, thank you so much. For those of you who are part of the 70% not subscribed, we are this close to 7,500. Just wanted to genuinely thank you for tuning in every single day with all this Spurs content. Let's jump right into it. And we'll start with Harrison Barnes. Now, I saw this from Don Harris on Twitter this morning, and I wanted to share this because not only is this good for Harrison Barnes, it just shows like the team culture in San Antonio and how pretty much everyone who's a Spur embraces the community. So Harrison Barnes and his wife Brittany doing great things in the community, building another basketball court for the boys and girls clubs, this one in Austin. Barnes has done this in cities where he has played throughout his career. So, not the most breaking Spurs news, but I wanted to just put a highlight on this because I feel like, and look, let me know if I'm wrong down below, because I think we do give Harrison Barnes his appreciation from time to time, but at the end of the day, sometimes I just feel like he could do with more, because again, he's basically the KD light, right? In a way, I mean, he's not going out there putting up 27 a game like KD is, but an effective 12 a game. This dude was a former 20-point per game scorer in Sacramento. 3.5 rebounds a game, 1.5 assists. His defense was reasonable, 51% from the field. But Harrison Barnes, I don't think it's a stretch to say he was our best 3-point shooter this past season. I mean, Champagnie had his moments, but it was Harrison Barnes who was so consistent throughout the year, and giving him his flowers for doing what he needs to do in San Antonio, being part of that trade coming over. 43.3% from 3, 47.7% from corner 3. Like, every time he was fed the ball in the corner, it just felt like a bucket. Almost half the time, 53% of his shots are 3s. I just wanted to shout him out and for what he's been doing for the community, because, it's never easy to go to a new team, go to a new place, really try to embrace the people around you, the culture around you. Something Harrison Barnes has done so well, not only off the court like we're seeing here, but also on the court. He's one of those guys that has fit so seamlessly into the Spurs system. And where's the payroll? Like, and honestly, at $18 million a year, for a guy that shoots as well from 3 as he does, with the cap continuing to climb year after year, it's honestly kind of a bargain, right? And, we're heading into the final year of his contract. And I wouldn't be opposed, again, at the end of it, if he can still age his game gracefully, keeping him around on a lower deal. I mean, I think some team will probably pay him more, but like, there's just so much with Harrison Barnes that I do like. Look, if he's ultimately part of a package to land some kind of big star, I'm down with that. But I just wanted to give a little shout out. Credit where credit is due to Harrison Barnes. But let's get into the big thing here today. Now, this draft stuff keeps getting crazier. Now, we know the Spurs are pretty much locked in on Dylan Harper. But the 76ers are trying to make it as difficult as they can for the Spurs to take Dylan Harper. Now, first off, there's been some controversy around Ace Bailey. Now, when we first landed the number 2 pick, I know Ace Bailey was seen as like, a good fit for San Antonio. However, Dylan Harper has always kind of been the better prospect, right? I mean, he gets a lot of Cade Cunningham comparables. We'll dive into that actually a little bit later. Almost as good a prospect as Cade. Some might argue even better, but Ace Bailey has been declining workouts. He's the only prospect to not work out for teams. That's like, in the States, in and around the teams right now. And he canceled his recent one with the Sixers. Now, there have been reports that the Sixers have liked VJ Edgecombe at number 3. But right now, it seems like they're a bit up in the air, which leads to this. From Brett Siegel, the 76ers have offered multiple first-round picks in addition to the 3rd pick to the Spurs to move up one spot and select Dylan Harper. The Spurs haven't budged. Now, a big decision faces Philly with the number 3 pick. Now, I see this and I think this is awesome. Dylan Harper is incredibly coveted. The San Antonio Spurs are going to do absolutely everything in their power to draft Dylan Harper. But I've seen this before with Philadelphia, right? This is one of those things where it's like, oh man, this is really difficult. Now, when Philly made this trade with the Celtics many years ago, right? The Celtics had the number 1 pick. Philly decided to trade it. The Celtics ended up with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum back-to-back years, right? And that ended up working out very, very well for Boston. But here, I think the Celtics knew who their guy was. I don't think they wanted to pick Fultz at number 1. Here, the Spurs want to pick Dylan Harper. Now, when we're saying multiple first-round picks, I think the question is, how many and are they protected, right? So if we're talking 2 more unprotected first-round picks to move from 3 to 2, I love Dylan Harper as much as anyone else. But if you want to build a true dynasty for years to come, that seems very difficult to say no to. But the Spurs have said no, which to me indicates that there is maybe even a bigger gap between Dylan Harper and anyone else below him than I even anticipated. If you want your guy, this doesn't even sway you. And I love that from the Spurs perspective. Now, I saw this from Ryan Hammer on Twitter as well. It's just a great graphic, just to, again, hammer home how impactful Dylan Harper looks to be. He said, well, all the makings of potential lead option down the road, big guard, incredible IQ and intangibles. I mean, look, biggest strength is the unfathomable downhill scorer finisher. You know, the what-if comparable Brandon Roy, his own father there as well, but Cade Cunningham is one of the best comparables. 6'6", 6'10" wingspan. Look, we've talked about Dylan Harper so much. If he can unlock that ISO shot creation, which is the biggest knock on him really as a future number 1 option, if he can unlock that, he'll be incredible. And I truly think he can unlock that, right? The downhill scoring is unbelievable. The 3-point shooting will improve. His form is really not that bad. So to have a guy like this be worth to the Philadelphia 76ers multiple first-round picks to move up, it's pretty crazy. Now, again, though, if we're talking multiple first, Philadelphia, a new report out of there has indicated that they want to run it back. They want to keep Paul George around. They want to keep Embiid around. They want to keep their core together with Maxey and go for a championship next year. Because again, I guess we don't tend to forget that Embiid is, always injured and missing a ton of time. And this season was just a disaster for the 76ers. But if there's a fully healthy Embiid season, which I feel like it's more likely to see Victor Wembanyama actually, meet aliens or something like that. But if Embiid can have a decent year, right, and Maxey stays healthy the whole year and everything kind of works out for them, they'll be a good team. They have the roster players to be a good team. They're just always dysfunctional. A healthy Sixers team is easily like a top 5-6 team in the East, I would say, though there's a lot of teams trying to be competitive right now. So those future first-round picks, if they're late lotto or even just out of the lotto, is that really worth it? Versus for moving 3 to 2, that's where I think I'm definitely on board with the Spurs. Because if this was that kind of Celtics situation where it was like, the Sixers have a very good chance at being a pretty high lottery team next year, I'd maybe start to consider it. But at this point, I love that the Spurs have shut this down. I am so on board. Hashtag Team Draft Dylan Harper. I don't know why I say hashtag. I just do it. Team Draft Dylan Harper every single day. I am so ready to see what this team looks like with him on it. Again, you constantly see, I don't know, the Spurs, he should want to go anywhere else because they have 2 guards. Nah, F that. I don't care about that. He's going to be an incredible fit. Let him play off the bench. I know top prospects, they want to get minutes right away. Let Dylan Harper come off the bench. Let him play against second units. Get those reps in. Be able to figure out how to solve those NBA defenses without having to put him up against the top players on the other team. We got Stephon Castle. We got De'Aaron Fox. For now, we still got Devin Vassell, a lot of guys that can help shoulder the offensive load so Dylan Harper isn't too overloaded, facing too much pressure. It's going to be incredible. But listen, leave me your thoughts down below. Would you ever do this trade with the Sixers? I love that the Spurs are not doing it. It's incredible to me, but I'd love to hear all your thoughts down below as well, because that'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. Hey, you made it 8.5 minutes into this video. Hit that free subscribe button down below. I think we earned it at this point because we have updates coming all offseason long. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.